Hey guys, I want to take a moment to talk about promotions in Jiu Jitsu. And I think they can be very ambivalent. They can be a great tool and they can also be an obstacle to your development. So it's worth discussing. Jiu Jitsu is incredibly subjective. So we often don't know where we're at along our own trajectory. We don't know enough yet. And it's the instructor's role to kind of acknowledge us when we're walking the path. And a new stripe or a new belt is your instructor saying like, hey, dude, you've made a ton of progress. You've leveled up into this next phase of your development. And those stripes can mean a lot. Those belts mean a lot. They're amazing checkpoints along the way. It's just this couple inches around our waist, but when I received my black belt, I felt different. I walked around differently. I felt a much greater sense of self-worth for having gone through a worthy struggle and came out the other end a better version of myself. And I think we tend to be myopic sometimes, and we think of the promotion as our next goal. Like I remember when I first started, all the belts were lined up on the wall, and we would do our warm-ups, and I would just stare at the one stripe white belt, and I would stare at it and just suffer. I was out of shape. I was doing the sit-ups at the end of class, and I was just, I'm going to get that belt. That's what I'm working toward. And when I got my one stripe white belt, then I looked at the two stripe white belt, and I stared at that during the push-ups, during the sit-ups, during the UPAs, everything. And they were motivating for me, but that motivation only takes you so far. We have a value hierarchy, right? And there are many layers to it. And jiu-jitsu is really hard. So you need a true motive and value that's going to allow you to push through the many challenges of being a steward of the art and dedicating your life in a way that allows for consistent training. And it's also important that, I mean, when you really think about it, if you dedicate yourself fully to jiu-jitsu and you are a full-time student and you train every day, you're really only training a couple hours a day. Most of your life is spent outside of jiu-jitsu. And I always view things as everything should serve the rest of your life because I want to maximize my development and my time. And that's why I say jiu-jitsu is a vehicle for personal development because I love guard passing. I love smashing my friends. But I like who I'm becoming a lot more, and that's more important to me. And though the stripes along the way feel really good and they're a good acknowledgement and a reminder that, dude, keep going, you're doing a great job, I think we should articulate our own hierarchy of values in a way where we no longer need the validation of a stripe or a belt. Now, it comes with that big dopamine hit. It's the neurophysiology that we evolved with, where we saw an apple in the distance, you walk to it, you get these, neurotransmitters pumping through you that, hey, this is good, keep going, keep going, keep going. And we still have that. And when we get a stripe, we feel that. We get a new belt, we feel that. And it's all along that path toward black belt. And I think it's that source of motivation that is why so many black belts stop training. I mean, that's a common thing. Ask your professor. There are a lot of black belts that don't train anymore. And that seems kind of counterintuitive. It's like, why would you spend your whole life doing something and then just leave it aside? And the reason is usually because they were motivated by those external achievements of the belts, and that when they achieved their final goal, they no longer had a goal to work toward. And we are goal-directed creatures. You see the world through the lens of your goal. If your goal is stripes and belts, it's only going to take you so far because you're going to run out of stripes and belts. Like I'm a black belt now. I only get a stripe every 3+ years. So that can't be a source of my motivation. But in the context of your value hierarchy, if you remember why you're training, like for me, it's I want to use jiu-jitsu as a vehicle to develop myself so that I have a better understanding of myself and my world, and I have more to offer the people around me. And now it's really a vehicle for service. This is the medium through which I help my community by sharing this art with them so they can learn and grow through it. And that's what motivates me, and that's what drives me. So knowing that as my modus operandi, and that's why I'm out here, that's so much more significant than the, hey, contribute to jiu-jitsu and every 3 years you get a stripe on your black belt. Like that doesn't modulate behavior. That doesn't drive you forward. So I think it's our job coming up the ranks from white to black belt. Appreciate the promotions because they mean a lot. They're awesome. They feel great, and it's a nice acknowledgement, and it's nice to wear that belt. It feels different when you wear a new belt that you get or a new stripe. But know that they are subordinate to your highest goal, that the reason why you're training is far more important and must take primacy over everything else than the acknowledgement of your progress. It's the progress of your humanity that matters. And the progress in jiu-jitsu is not always correlated to the stripes on your belt. We're all pursuing our own path. We're all developing in different ways. And you might be making a ton of progress and maybe it goes unnoticed. at the time, but you're still making the progress, and that's what matters. That is the highest goal, and that's why we come onto the mat, is to use this as a vehicle to become more, not as a vehicle for external acknowledgement. And that's important. And I think that's a lesson that we can all still learn in adulthood. I know that for me, fighting MMA or competing in Jiu Jitsu, it always felt really good to win. And it always felt really good to have people watch me win. But it felt a lot better to know I confronted a worthy cause and I strived for a better version of myself through that resistance and environment. I think that's what matters. That's why the promotions, though they're great and it's a nice pat on the back, they're not as important as the development of your humanity. And it's your job to define your value hierarchy, right? What's at the top? Why am I really doing this? And then way at the bottom, which is, oh, I really want a black belt. That's awesome. It is a goal worth pursuing, but it's a goal worth pursuing because of who you become on the way to its achievement, not for the external act of receiving a black belt. That is subordinate to what you become. So define your value hierarchy. Why are you showing up? And the more you articulate it, the more likely you are to remember the value of your training and to keep pushing through when you meet resistance, because times will come in your life when you think about quitting. It happens. I remember I almost quit jiu-jitsu like a month in because I had no money. I just graduated college, and I remember my gi tour, and gis were like $200 at the time, and I was like, I don't have this money. I can't pay $200 every time I need a new gi. I should probably stop training, and I almost did. And it was from hand-me-downs from all the instructors that kind of allowed me to not worry about the financial burden and just focus on the jiu-jitsu. And it's changed my life. So I encourage all of you to define your value hierarchy, list as many reasons as possible why you're training and why it matters and why your life is better and why the life of those around you will be better. And if you do that, what happens with the stripes and the belts will not matter as much, and they won't affect your behavior, and the pursuit of your highest path will. And that's what matters. So promotions are great, but we're really trying to promote our humanity. That's what matters. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I love jiu-jitsu and I want to spend my life serving others through this medium. If you found these videos worthwhile, please subscribe to the page, like, comment, let us know how we're doing. My goal is that the more we all use jiu-jitsu to mold ourselves on the mat, the better our lives will be off the mat. And then we can be a positive impact on the lives of those around us. So subscribe to this channel if you found it valuable. We're going to put a ton of stuff out here, and we hope it's worthy of your time.